All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get going here. As I said before, my name is Toby Deutsch. I'm the main graduate advisor in the School of Information Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. We have an MLAS program. We've got another graduate program in information science technology. We've got a PhD program in information science. We've been around for a number of years, but today we've got Susan Hersh with us today as our panel moderator, and I'll let Susan and our panelists introduce themselves in a second. But Susan is our school library media program coordinator. It's been a number of years now, but when Susan joined us, the state of Wisconsin was going through some changes and what it meant to be a school librarian. And with the help of some work previous to her, Mary Webking and Susan helping lead the way, we were able to make some very good concerted change here in the School of Information Studies, and we've seen a lot of growth in our school library program in the last couple of years. We're really looking forward to speaking with some folks, talking about what it means to be a school librarian right now, right? We've got Sheva on a field trip. We're going to kind of fly by the seat of our pants here. Anything goes at a school in a lot of ways, and folks need to step away if we get interrupted. Apologies right from the very start here. But Susan, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then I'm going to let you guys go ahead. So welcome. Thank you for coming, and let us know what we can do for you. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Toby. I really appreciate that introduction, and thanks to everyone for coming here. Please take advantage of the chat between Toby and I. We'll monitor the chat because we really want everyone to participate a lot. This is a chance to get your questions answered because school librarianship, each role looks different. And so this way you can get a lot of perspectives on the field. So I'm going to ask each panelist to introduce themselves real quickly and say something about the why, like their personal why, like why they got into school librarianship or how they ended up in the school librarianship position. And Dolores, you're the lucky winner who's like next to me on my Zoom screen. So if you don't mind starting off, and then Josh, you're on deck.
Hi, I'm Dolores Brown. I'm the library media specialist in Brown Deer, Wisconsin for the middle high school. So the middle school and the high school are connected through my LRC, my library resource center. And I kind of ended up in school librarianship by surprise. I was a public librarian associate at Milwaukee Public Library, and I was going to school at SOAS and fully intending to become a public librarian or to go into private librarianship, working for the prison systems. That was something that my heart was into. And I took for credit, I took a student observation, a school librarian observation experience, just to see what it was like, so that I kind of know that I was really ruling it out. And I cold called a couple of school districts to see if they'd let me come in and observe, and two of them said yes. I chose Brown Deer because it was by my house, and I came in, and about 3 weeks into that observation, COVID shut everything down, and and but I had been hooked. I had made relationships in the building. I liked the library and the collection, and there was a person here that would be my mentor, the district librarian, that I thought would be a positive relationship for me starting out as a librarian. So when she said, "I really like you and I think you're a good fit for us, I'm going to offer you this job here as a librarian," I was like, okay. You know, my mom says, she's like, well, you don't turn down a job when the whole world is just shut down. So that was part of it, but part of it was really just the relationships and the kiddos and seeing what it was like. So by chance, I ended up being a school librarian.
Terrific. And Josh, go ahead and jump in, and Hollis, you're next. And Hollis, if you need me to set a timer, I will. Okay, I'm just razzing her. Okay.
All right, yeah, so I'm Josh Rageth. I am a library media specialist in the school district of Waukesha, which is just outside of Milwaukee. I am at 6 elementary schools that I manage. I have library aides at each one that are about half-time. But then I also do all of the Spanish ordering for middle schools, which kind of gets me how I got into being a school librarian was for about 9 years. I was a bilingual teacher in the school district of Waukesha, and I was first grade and fourth grade, and my last year in the classroom, I was kind of getting told by like our admin with how like our enrollment was changing, that they were going to need somebody up in middle school, and so they were going to send me up to 7th grade. Kind of got voluntold that I was going to be moved up. And at that same time, our school librarian at the time, who is now like my mentor and colleague, she was like, hey, maybe you should think about getting into the library. We don't have anyone that speaks Spanish. We've got 10 schools that have bilingual programs, and we don't have anyone that can pick Spanish books. And like half the time, like when new Spanish books would come in, they would ask me like, hey, where would you put this book? Is this a picture book? Would this be like a chapter book? Like where would you put it? And I suppose she was kind of starting to like put that bug in my ear. And that same year, this was 2021-22 school year. Our district had a ton of book challenges where it was just, it was overwhelming for our staff. There for 19 schools. Oh, great. Now we've got some announcements. Indoor recess. Awesome. Yeah, we have 19 schools, and there's 5 librarians. So the sheer number of challenges we had, 2 librarians ended up leaving. So that kind of opened up that position with those openings. So my son was born in July. I was told to apply for it like the week before he was born, and I got called in to interview, and I said I might still be in the hospital when this interview happens. Luckily everything was fine. I was out, like, we were home for like 2 days, and then I went and interviewed, and I was just like, hey, I've been in the district forever. I know, I'm great with technology. I was a technology mentor and things like that, and I'm the only one that speaks Spanish that's probably applied for this job. So I kind of got in that way.
Terrific. Thank you, Josh. Hollis, let us know a little bit about yourself and how you ended up where you are, and then Sheva will jump to you as long as, and we know you're on a field trip, so let us know how the timing works.
Hi, good morning. My name is Hollis, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I want to just start by saying that I noticed Joyce Valenza's name in one of these little squares, and she's like the OG of school librarianships. There's her actual face. Hi. This is exciting. Okay, sorry. So when I finished college, I had a degree in Spanish and American literature, and I was pretty sure I was going to be a high school Spanish and French teacher. I had a minor in French, and I went off merrily to do my life's mission and absolutely hated it, hated every minute of it. And so as one does, I came home and didn't know what to do with my life. So I went to my public librarian, who had been like my pseudo mom growing up. She'd been really great to me and helped raise me more or less. My mom was great, but if you're a library nerd, you're a library nerd. And so she said, well, obviously you hated it. You're supposed to be a librarian. And I laughed because librarians are quiet and well-behaved and orderly, and I am none of the above. So I decided just for fun, I knew I couldn't go back and be a classroom teacher. I hated the bureaucracy. I hated lesson planning. I hated being told what to do. I hated parents. I hated giving grades. All I really wanted to do was be around kids and learning. And so it was obvious that the library was the right place. So I applied to the only grad school that didn't require GREs, because I'm not a test taker. And that was Simmons in Boston. And it was a great place for me because it had a children's literature department as well. So when I went into librarianship, I thought I was going to be a public librarian and really be a book nerd. And then after a couple short jobs and stints and internships, I realized that I really missed the kids. And so my old dean of my high school had heard that I'd gone to library school and said they were in a pinch and would I want to come be a school librarian in their school. So I didn't actually have to work too hard for that first job. It ended up being amazing and I loved it. And then due to various moves in lives and marriages and divorce and babies and cancer and autism and all kinds of things, I've just bounced around the library and book world. Briefly was a librarian for 5 years at the CCBC at the UW-Madison. And that's when I went back and told that same librarian who convinced me to be a librarian, that's where I ended up. She, on the phone, she said, "Are you kidding me? You're supposed to die in that job. You're way too young for that job." And again, it was lucky. I'd never even heard of it coming from the East Coast, for shame. And I saw that the job, and I applied for it. And the reason nobody else applied for it was that there had been an internal candidate, which I didn't even know. Turns out she only wanted it half-time. So I got it half-time and then snuck my way in that way. And that was really great. I learned so much. But what I learned again was that I miss kids and I miss being in schools. So I worked my way back, and now I am the librarian at a K-5 dual language immersion school in Madison. We are 75% Spanish speaking as first language and 25% English. My appointment here is 70%, so it's not a full-time gig. The other allocation I fill with other things, and that's probably something we might talk about later, the state of affairs in librarianship. I absolutely love what I do. I love it, love it, love it. And I can't imagine being anywhere else or doing anything else. And for me, the crux of it is that I want to always be in a place that is growing and learning together in community. And I find that from the library, I have the capacity to help influence that. And I'm not quite at the mercy of admin and families in that they don't know what it is we're supposed to do. So how's my time, Susan? Should I talk about that small time back when I was 7? Or no, I'm just kidding.
You're awesome. Thank you, Hollis. We're gonna jump to Sheva, but before you start, Sheva, Hollis, I'm almost sorry to say this, although it's not like a bad thing, but we have SOAS no longer requires a GRE, and I think a lot of the other grad schools don't require a GRE. I can't speak for them directly. So people who are here as attendees, like, don't be like, "Oh no, GRE, that shouldn't be a barrier for you."
Yeah, I should have said it was 1995. So like
no worries, no worries. And you also made me think of one more thing. Oh, I just wanted to point out that it's interesting to see the trends already in our first 3 panelists about how jobs evolve and kind of find you, because one of our first questions was unique difficulties in finding employment. And of course, I can speak for Wisconsin and the students that we have, although we do have students from across the country and really globally, that the majority of our students are already hired into the position, and then they're kind of like backfilling the certification requirements. And I've got to assume that's probably not only our program, and I guess I know in the other programs in Wisconsin that's not the case. And so what it does is it makes the classes really awesome because people are in the field and working every day on these issues that come up in class. And so I thought I would point that out as well. Okay, I will actually mute myself. Sheva, go ahead, and then we'll wrap up with Anna.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sheva-Abeles Allison. My pronouns are they, them. And I am the high school librarian for Ashland High School up in Ashland, Wisconsin, way, way up right on the south shore of Lake Superior. And I came into librarianship through many different avenues. Post my undergrad, I ended up doing a lot of youth programming development as well as grant writing, and knew that I wanted to end up in the area where I had grown up. And so I found my way back here to Ashland, Wisconsin. And yeah, was doing that grant writing, and a job opened up at the public library for a communications and community engagement coordinator position, which really spoke to my skills. I do graphic design. I do all sorts of artsy, silly kinds of things. And so it made a lot of sense. And it was going to give me an opportunity to work with people, which I hadn't been able to do as much before. And so I was there at the public library for 2.5 years. I'm on a call. There's one. Sorry. I was at the public library and found out that it was a little too slow for me. I needed some chaos. And I really enjoyed when I was working directly with kids, whether that was through summer reading or book clubs, or we had a writing club that I ran. And so when a position opened up at the Ashland High School library, I immediately called the principal and ended up having my interview just over the phone right there. And he asked me to send his resume after, or asked me to send him my resume after. And like 3 days later, I was hired for the school year. And I haven't looked back. I feel like the school librarianship is where I belong. I love the chaos. I love the opportunity to kind of dip my hands into all sorts of subjects and work with my coworkers, with the other teachers. It's really been amazing. Of course, very stressful at times, and also fantastic.
Terrific. Thanks, Sheva and Anna. I've seen you like smile and nod at so many of these. It's awesome. But whatever you want to add, tell us how you landed here.
So my pathway is actually a little bit different, in that I decided to become a school librarian, did all of the coursework to become certified, and then applied for jobs. So yeah, that is sort of unusual. But I'll say starting from the beginning, I was a teacher for 15 years in elementary and middle school, teaching English as an additional language and then middle school history. And since I was young, I've always loved books and libraries. And as a teacher, I was always connecting students with books, helping them grow as readers, supporting teachers with book choices. And something I really loved about being a teacher, I love the teaching aspects. So I couldn't see myself doing something where that wasn't a part of my job. And I love the relationship building with students and with colleagues. As an English as an additional language teacher, I worked a lot with colleagues. And so I wanted, I felt like I was ready to move on to something different, but I wanted to sort of keep all of those elements of what I loved about being a teacher. I also felt like as a school librarian, I would have a school-wide impact. Um, and that was really appealing rather than just having an impact on the kids in my classroom. And the last school that I was, one of the middle schools that I taught at had a pair of amazing librarians, and they really showed me. The school before had a really old school, this is my book warehouse, do not touch the books, because you might lose them. And this next school, they just really made the library the community center of the school and did such an amazing job of teaching and connecting with students, connecting with teachers, supporting everyone. And so I felt like that's what I want to do. And when my daughter was born, I took an intro to children's literature class in Virginia. And it showed me that those librarians were really the future of librarianship. Like that's what being a librarian was about. It wasn't about creating punny bulletin boards that connected with the holiday. It was really about, yeah, helping students and teachers grow as learners and global citizens. So yeah, I see my job as all of that and promoting book magic and book love. And building on what Hollis said, it really is a dream job. And I feel like, yeah, I hope to be at my school in this position kind of as long as it exists or until I retire. So I'll say, yeah, unlike the other candidates, the other speakers, I really came to this position with no library experience. When I did my field work, that was really my first like hands-on experience. That's where I literally learned to like check out books, um, shelve, things like that. And I'll just say the program prepared me really well. And every librarian position is different. And so my like number one thing to take away is that you do have to be really flexible. Um, and the person who said that, yeah, like you have to be comfortable with chaos, that's very true. You have to really thrive on chaos and the fact that like every day is going to be different, and yeah, new exciting things are going to happen. Um, During my field work, I was at 3 different schools. I chose a private school, a suburban school, and an urban school, and that worked out really well. I realized that, yeah, that an urban setting was really going to be the best match for me, and the librarian who had been my mentor, was so helpful in my job search. My job search coincided with MPS doing a lot of hiring, which they are continuing to do. So I really encourage you to consider MPS. And she just, yeah, was really helpful in saying, like, okay, that school you should target, like that one, you're going to experience these challenges. And Susan was also an incredible resource. So the question about like networking and finding employment, um, if you plan to, yeah, that Josh, that's true too. I interviewed finding a library environment that matches you. I I was offered jobs at Golda, and then I was also offered a job for a suburban district. Um, and the suburban district, the principal was very clear that she had a very precise idea of what the librarian was gonna be doing, and she, like, had the weekly schedule, all mapped out, and, like, what I was gonna do throughout the year. And at Golda, it was more like, they asked me more kind of, "What's your vision, and what do you see happening?" So, yeah, I don't wanna jump ahead to advice to people entering the field yet, but that is the job looks very different in different schools, in different settings, and I'm really fortunate to be at a school that's a perfect fit. Um, but yeah, if you end up at a school that isn't a perfect fit, then, like, don't leave the profession. You might wanna just, yeah, consider a different place. Um, so yeah, that's my story.
That's awesome. Yeah, and don't worry about like jumping around into other questions. That's no problem. I feel like so many valuable things have come up. So far the questions in the chat have been focused on networking, the importance of networking, and what kind of unique challenges to finding a job have come up. So does anyone else want to respond to the networking? I appreciate Hollis putting stuff in the chat and Anna addressing that a bit in her response. It's very school librarian to be doing several things at once, and like being on this Zoom and being on a field trip and putting stuff in the chat and responding to stuff. That's like classic school librarian, because we'll make chaos if there isn't chaos, but it's all good. Yeah, does anyone else want to comment on the networking? I think from the school director program or program director perspective, we do require field work, and that's not by chance. Like, a lot of that is that networking piece, and we actually have people find their own field work placements. Again, that networking piece, although we definitely help people. So and we keep a database of school librarians who have supported our program. So don't panic like, oh, I don't even know who I would do field work with yet. Don't worry, because that evolves over time, and we support you, and I'm sure other programs would support you. And we also have classroom assignments that often involves speaking to a school librarian or visiting a school library and things like that. So I think that helps you developing relationships. And I do agree, this is networking. Oh, did anybody else want to comment on the networking? Anything to add?
Yeah, I'll say be really purposeful with your field work and think about like what would your dream placements be, and then contact those folks. Like I was lucky that each of the 3 places, basically, I was able to find someone who was interested in working with me. Also, it's so important to know that you don't need to be certified to find a job as a librarian. I was coming from Virginia, where you do need to be certified in order to work at a school. And so I assumed that was the case in Wisconsin. And I probably could have been a librarian a couple years earlier if I had known, like, actually you can apply and then get certified. And some districts like MPS will pay for a certain amount of classes every year. So I actually, my last couple classes to get my MLIS, it's MPS that's paid for those classes.
Yeah, and I would add to that, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, what people have found is, like they've reached out to our program and I've said, oh, you're in New Orleans. You know, I know we've had other people from New Orleans and they said, oh yeah, I can't get hired until I have a master's degree. And I've said, oh, wait, we've had other students who were already working in the job as they work towards it. And so because of the massive teacher shortage across the country, a lot of people are bending their rules. So even if you read online, oh, darn, I'm in Colorado, I can't get hired. I'm not already a certified teacher, or whatever the barrier says online, definitely reach out to that organization. Or reach out to a school district if you see a position, because even if they say that the certification is required, because of the teacher shortage, it could be that it's required on paper, but there is a way around that temporarily. Other comments on networking or issues finding a position, or other questions? If people want to, I think you can unmute. If people want to unmute instead of adding a question to the chat, feel free to do that as well. But otherwise, panelists, any other questions, any other comments about networking and unexpected issues in finding a job?
I think something that I didn't say in my, I'm sorry, Anna, something I didn't say was that I got my master's in library science in Massachusetts 25 years ago, when that was enough to be a school librarian because it was implicit in the program. And so I found myself after 20 years working as a school librarian, all of a sudden being here in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin saying, sorry, you're not certified. So I did it backwards, and Susan's laughing because it was a nightmare for me. I was put in I had to take a class on children's literature, because multicultural children's literature, because there wasn't any in my day. There was no such thing. So I then said to Susan, well, listen, I need to take this class. I used to teach this class at UW-Madison. Do I really need to take it? And so if you're somebody who's sort of later in life coming to this, please know that there's a million ways to do this, and that I specifically chose Milwaukee as opposed to Whitewater or Eau Claire or other places out of state, because Susan was so flexible and willing to look at my life experience and my classes that I had taken and those kinds of things to craft a certification licensing program for me that made sense. So please, right, this is a field where if you were 10 years a car mechanic and all of a sudden you want to do this, that's helpful, that matters. And everything you've learned in your whole life contributes to the capacity you have to influence kids' lives in a school library. So I'm happy to talk about my experiences later if you want to connect, but don't think that your educational experience and background is going to limit your ability to work in school libraries.
I'll also say though, if you are looking to network and to prepare for the job, that trying to have more experiences working with kids and more experiences in schools. Because I think sometimes people have volunteered in schools and they think like, oh, well, I kind of know how they work. And actually being an employee, like when you're a volunteer, you're kind of treated with kid gloves and you have like a very particular thing you're doing. And as a school employee, I feel like you're just kind of thrown in there and you have to be flexible and you have to, yeah, develop different skills that have really come in handy as a school librarian. So if you're looking for, yeah, definitely, Hollis, school culture is unique. And working in any capacity in a school and any capacity with kids, I think would be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I think that's important. And Josh, go ahead and jump on that. And our other question in the chat is about, a little bit of worry about limited local opportunities. But go ahead, Josh.
No, yeah, just kind of building off of what Anna and Hollis were saying, just like the more experience that you can have in a school, especially with, as Susan was saying, with teacher shortages all over. I mean, there's no lack of substitute positions open daily. I mean, you get your sub license, you can get into a building and see what it's actually like, which can give you a lot of great opportunities to see like, hey, would this be a school that I would want to maybe work in? Also, kind of building off of that with just talking about networking, it's a very lonely job a lot of times. And, Hollis is talking about how all your life experiences matter. I mean, so often principals have no idea what school librarians do. So any experience you have can be totally used to help you get a job. Anything with technology, with, do you use a library? I mean, most principals, you ask them what their ideal vision of a library is, and they have no idea. You're like putting them on the spot, like, check out books. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's terrific. And let's see. I know, Dolores, you were like offered your job like right from the get-go and stuff. Do you have any other comments on about networking, or if people are worried about the job field? Do you have any advice for them?
Okay. I think that networking is, what Josh was saying, like it can be a lonely profession. The reason why he's saying that is because you're the only one in your position in a lot of places, and especially for someone like him, he's covering the whole district with a bunch of paras, and so he's like one man is an island over there. For me, I have the elementary school has a librarian, and then there's a district librarian, and so it's a little different. I'm not alone all of the time, but I do seek out a lot of professional learning networks, a lot of networking. There are things at CISA, which is something that Wisconsin has. They have networking groups that you can join, that your school can pay for you to be a member of, and you can meet once a month with other librarians from around your CISA network. Another thing that I do, I listen to a podcast called School Librarians United that talks to librarians from all over the country. And then there's on Clubhouse, if you're on Clubhouse, there's a school librarian group there called I think it's called Boss Librarian and Friends. And once a week, school librarians from around the country all come together and just talk about different topics. So these are ways of making it so that you're not by yourself. As far as your job, finding a job, to me, it seems like everyone's looking for educators. And I may have rose-colored glasses because, like I said, I was offered my position from my observation, but it seems like a lot of schools are looking for librarians and people who with their accreditation, and it's how a lot of teachers and how a lot of people who aren't certified yet are getting into roles, is because everyone needs these positions. So I think you should feel optimistic going out there, especially if you're certified. You know, just meet people, just go, like I said, find different environments to do your observations and your student teaching and stuff, to meet different people who are hiring. Link up with your advisors from your school, because there's like a really great job career counselor with SOAS who sends out positions every week. Susan also posts a bunch of positions. All of the school districts know that they can contact her, and she'll post it for a bunch of school librarian students. So look within your department as well for listings and for jobs availability. But I think that it's very very optimistic, very positive out there as far as looking for jobs. People have tried to poach me, and I think that that just that idea that people want a good librarian that badly is positive for all of us. And in Wisconsin, yes, you do have to have a teaching certificate to work as a school librarian, and so that's the school librarian program that we all took through SOAS has is the 1903, I think it is 1903, 1901, something like that. It's a school librarian teaching certificate that you get after your master's degree.
Right. So just to clarify, the rule, especially if people have been looking at this field from a distance, like I did for like 10 years before I eventually did it, it used to be you had to be a certified teacher, and only certified teachers could pursue this licensure. But the good news is that now you can get the licensure as part of your school library program. So personally for our program, and I think it varies on programs, but a lot of them offer the master's degree, and then it's kind of like additional coursework if you've never been a teacher before. Thank you, Joyce. Awesome. And then we also have a program. Well, I don't want the master's degree. I know I'm only working in K-12 schools, and then you do all of the classes only towards the certification without the master's degree. We usually try to encourage people to get the MLIS degree whenever they can, because we call it our Cadillac program. It opens up the most job opportunities. Honestly, it gives you the broadest background in librarianship as well. And so you do the core classes, and you do, you know, it's more classes. It's a little bit more work in each class, but at the end, you'll be prepared for K-12 schools and an MLIS degree. Joyce, did you want to jump in? That's if you have the power to unmute yourself. Okay, good. And also, I want Toby to know that I know that we're in our final 5 minutes. So if you have a question, throw it in the chat.
I was just going to jump in with that. We have about 5 minutes left. We want to respect everyone's time, and I know that some folks need to get to some other sessions yet today. So if we don't get to the questions that you have today, Susan and I will hang out. But as we're getting close here, maybe some final comments from our panelists on some of the questions that we might find below.
Sure. And panelists, you know what I don't think I did? I didn't include their emails. So panelists, if you're willing to share your school email or UWM email, why don't you throw that in the chat? Oh, Joyce, sorry.
It's exciting that so many people really want to join our profession. The one thing that really frustrates me, and we have a great school at Rutgers too, where you get your master's and your teaching degree at the same time. We have people from all over the world coming here as well. But what I really am frustrated by is the situation where folks take the praxis, come out of another teaching experience, and imagine they're going to be librarians. And we want this to be an aspirational profession. We want really exciting people who can build reading cultures and cultures of all sorts of literacy. And that part, I think, is doing us a disservice. And so if you get a library position, please consider further education. Please, that's why I put that guide together. But if you're going to get a certification with 24 credits, get the master's with the full master's. It'll put you ahead in a school district, but it'll also give you a very professional mindset, which you can move all over library land.
Yeah, that's great. And are you in New Jersey? So in New Jersey, is it that a school library, is it that a teacher can add on school library certification by passing a test?
In Pennsylvania, all they need to do is take a test and they cram for it.
Oh, okay. So that's not an option in Wisconsin right now.
But it is in many states, and that's what terrifies me, because we have so many people misrepresenting the profession and don't have the common beliefs and core values that we have.
Right. No, that's definitely a professional issue. Yes, Hollis.
Just was something you just said, Joyce, is something that I've been coming to conclude after COVID, et cetera, and that is that who we are as librarians is really much more of a mindset than it is a bunch of, I mean, you have to know how to catalog. You have to understand how cataloging works. You have to understand what motivates kids to read. You have to be able to manage a classroom. There are actual technical skills that you need, but being a school librarian really is a mindset. And that mindset is, how can I help this group of small people become who they want to be? Right. Yeah. And if you don't live your personal life like that, including understanding that in the olden days, you weren't even allowed to say you were a librarian unless you had the master's. We were a very petty bunch. You were a library worker, you were a paraprofessional, but Josh, technically in the olden days, some little old ladies in cardigans would have said, you are not a librarian. And that's, that's harmful as well. But I think if you have opportunity to continue to live a life of the mind and to push your skills and to understand the larger picture and where we fit in academia, then you should definitely pursue it. Unfortunately, it's expensive and you don't get that back in your job. But figure out ways to keep growing and keep learning. And once you get the certification and the license, your learning journey is not over. And I'm super glad to meet people here today and have emails and share ideas, because this group we are an alumni bunch and we are a future alumni bunch. And when we go out in the world, we can use this collective knowledge to really up the quality of the education of our kids. Soapbox gone.
That's awesome. So it's 11:45 and I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. So if you need to jump off, we totally understand, and thank you very much for participating. Springau, you have a question, but I have a follow-up question to your question, if you can stay on for a minute. Otherwise, I want to give the panelists a chance. If there was something you wanted to say today, and you can stay for a minute and you haven't had a chance yet to say it, do you want to jump in? Any of the panelists who, like, I don't want the session to end and you be like, oh, the one thing I wanted to be sure to say to people was X, Y, or Z.
Talk to Spring's question really quickly, because I think I have a rather unique opportunity this year. At the end of last year, I was asked by our career and technical education department if I would like to teach a class under their department, but through the library. And I was able to create my own class, which we call Makerspace Technology and Design. That's a year-long class, and that's one of the reasons why I'm on this field trip right now, is because under that department, we took around 300 kids out of school today, and this is one of the field trips. But yeah, I think that's maybe answering your question, kind of answering your question. But I feel like when you compare with other departments, there's a lot of strength there, and that's where I've found a lot of success, is really direct relationships with other departments and asking them what they need, asking what they're looking for, and then seeing how I can fill that gap.
Terrific. Anyone else want to chime in?
I'll say that once you are a librarian, kind of two things. First, Rome wasn't built in a day. And so, yeah, like your job will evolve. When I first started, I did not realize that my 2 libraries had not been weeded in 20 years, and that there were like horribly inappropriate and outdated books in each of them, and that I would have to get rid of thousands of books before I started. So yeah, just don't get overwhelmed. yeah, it's all a process. And then something that the program really promotes, but is also true, you need to not just do good work, you need to share that you're doing good work. Because yeah, librarian positions are cut if people don't see that you are doing something important. So at my school, I have an Instagram account where I try to post pictures regularly. I have a weekly update that I send out to staff. A lot of what we do is kind of behind the scenes, and it's important to let folks know, yeah, what you're doing and that your position is important and shouldn't get cut.
Terrific. Yes, very important. Josh.
Yeah, I would just add, kind of building off of that, kind of becoming like an expert on the curriculum that is being taught at your school is so huge, just for being able to anticipate like what resources are going to be needed, and then to be able to offer yourself to help with that. Like, just 2 weeks ago, our entire district, like everyone started a nonfiction unit. So I was like, hey, now's my time. Let's get in the classrooms here. Let's go. So like, if you don't know that, though, it's really hard for you to partner with other teachers and for them to know that they can use you as a resource. And then especially, if you can get in there and prove your worth, then that opens up more opportunities for further, collaboration.
Terrific. Anyone else with any final closing statements? I mean, we covered so much, the continuing professional development piece, partnering with teachers, the chaos piece, all the good stuff. So yeah, Toby, do you have any final wrap-up words before you close out the session?
Not so much. I just want to thank everybody for being here. Panelists, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, in many cases, very busy school days. We really appreciate you stepping in here. Susan, thanks for all you do and helping to advocate for these folks and helping pushing forward our career paths for a lot of folks. And for any of you as attendees, as participants here, if you have questions, you're looking for more information, there are some emails in the chat that are there. I'm a little unclear on how we will get, or if we get lists of participants that are out there, but if we do, we can send out that information as well. I'll know a little bit more about that in the next couple of hours here. But thank you very much for coming. Thanks for attending. I also have to skip off to another presentation here. Thanks for being a part of things. Have a great day. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.